Hello and welcome to another Bearded Geek toy review. Yes, I've got another video for today for you. This one is the Marvel Legends Spider-Man Hobgoblin figure from the animated series that was produced and aired in the 1990s. Now, a lot of people of a certain generation, like myself, do have very, very fond memories of this show because I would say probably along with the animated 90s X-Men series and the wonderful Batman the Animated Series from around about the same time, these were the pinnacle of very, very faithful, absolutely from comic page to TV screen, faithful adaptations of the comic book characters. And so this series is on Disney Plus if you subscribe to Disney Plus, and I do recommend that you check it out because it is a very, very good series. This Hobgoblin figure, as I said, is based on how he appeared in the animated series as well as how he appears in the comics as well, because that's a very, very obviously faithful representation. So it's in a more comic book style, which is why we've got this kind of like Spider-Man figure next to him. This one is the one that I reviewed from the Renew Your Vows twin pack a couple of months back that I bought online from Game for an absolute knockdown price of around about £18 when it should have been 65 quid. Speaking of which, this guy has been in Game for quite some time, still at £23.99, never got reduced, and then suddenly I saw him for £12 on Amazon and I thought, well, why not? I have been waiting to get this figure, and for 12 quid, absolute steal, absolute bargain, half the price. I could not resist. So let's just move Spidey to one side because I think he's going to probably fall down at some point because he's not the best, which is why I've got blue tack on his feet. So we'll just lie him down there. So the packaging is very, very much based on the graphics of the figure line from the 1990s, which coincided with the Spider-Man cartoon show as well. And then on the back, you've got a description of the character and the other figures that are available in this current wave. Now, the Hobgoblin obviously is not the Green Goblin. He's a completely separate character. He made his debut in Amazing Spider-Man issue number 238, which I think is March 1983 it came out. I have that very issue. It's one of my prized issues. Because I was collecting Amazing Spider-Man at that point. I just started to collect the American comics, the actual original copies rather than the British reprints from Marvel UK around that time. So this is like when I really, really got into comics in those in the early 1980s, and then throughout for about probably 10, 12 years, I was hugely into comic books, and therefore obviously the big debut of Venom, Todd McFarlane's run on Amazing Spider-Man. Obviously then he did his huge standalone series, and then you had issues like The Death in the Family from Batman, where they killed off the second Robin, Jason Todd. You had The Dark Knight Returns, you had Watchmen. Then in the early 90s, you had the Death of Superman storyline, which was absolutely huge. And then that was followed up by the Nightfall storyline in the Batman comic books. So, it was a great time to collect comic books. They did some wonderful stories. But then it kind of all went bust in the mid-1990s, and Marvel filed for bankruptcy and then was bought out by Toy Biz, who then started to produce the toys because obviously they then owned the comic book company. And then obviously Marvel came out of bankruptcy and became the success that it is today, snapped up by Disney in 2010, I believe, I think it was. And they've kind of never looked back. Although the comic book side of it is kind of it's been on its last rights, I think, for the last couple of years. Comic books really don't sell as much as they used to. And to be quite honest, I'm not surprised because, for somebody in the UK, if you want an individual issue, you're talking £3-4 an issue. when you can wait for like the graphic novel trade that has all like 6 copies of issues of that particular storyline, and then you can pick that up for like 12-15 quid. So but the comics keep chugging along. I'm not collecting any at the moment because obviously I'm just a bit disillusioned with how the comic books are going at the moment. Anyway, that's enough waffle about me and how I feel about the current state of the comic book industry. Let's get this guy cut open. Now, I'm not going to be keeping this packaging. I'm trying to stop keeping packaging just because storage-wise, it just takes up far too much, stuff. So, effectively, let's just get this guy off the card back. I don't know why I've used the knife, because effectively I'm going to be throwing this bloody thing out. Making an absolute mess here, but there you go. There's the figure. There's the packaging. Nice view of the cityscape there. And here he is. So he does come with a couple of accessories. We've got a pumpkin bomb, which is the traditional weapon of a goblin. Which is there. Now, there was a big mystery about the identity of the Hobgoblin when he first came onto the scene. There's his goblin glider, which has some cool paintwork on the eyes there. But besides that, a bit plain. I think they could have done a little bit more with that. But of course, it's very comic book accurate, as you've probably seen from some of the clips that I'm going to stick in this video from the cartoon series. Then you've got his satchel, where he keeps his pumpkin bombs. Again, still same colour, purple. Nice bit of paintwork there on the buckle. And then we've got the figure itself. So yeah, there was a huge mystery about who this guy was. And obviously, at that time, in the comic books, Norman Osborn, I'll say it again, was dead, before they resurrected him in the 2000s. So it wasn't him. It wasn't Harry Osborn, who'd previously inherited and become the Green Goblin during a mental breakdown. So the Green Goblin had obviously originally been Norman Osborn, but then was famously killed off in the Death of Gwen Stacy storyline in 1971. And then they'd had other people take on the mantle of the Green Goblin, like Harry Osborn, Phil Ulrich, who was one of the reporters at the Daily Bugle, who had a beef with Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and various other characters were, the Green Goblin as well throughout the years. So, but then they introduced this guy, and this guy was a mysterious character who had had a criminal network, and one of his contacts had stumbled across a couple of old warehouses of Norman Osborn's that contained all the goblin gear. So he decided to obviously take it on and then start to build his criminal empire from there. So here we have a look at the figure. Nice detail on the back of the cloak, nice and tatty there. I like the holes in it, that's very good. Could have probably do with a bit of a wash, but like I say, this is very comic book accurate, so there's not going to be much of a paint job on there. The look on the face is particularly good. That's very, very creepy. And obviously he's got the hood there, so you can probably take that off if you want to, but it does fit nice and snugly under there. And obviously it's got the hooded section at the back that gives it kind of like that goblin-esque kind of look. Detail at the waist, obviously, so you've got articulation there, so you can probably bend him down as he's on the goblin glider. Now, obviously, this is quite a figure that's been around for a bit, so it does have pin joints. It's probably one of the last that they made with pin joints. So you can see there, it's got pin joints at the elbows on the arms, and also are around the knees and the legs there. But I really like this figure. This is really, really cool. Now, how does he stand in relation to my kind of comic book accurate Spider-Man? Yeah, they are quite in scale with each other. There is a version of this Spider-Man figure that is accurate to how he appeared in the comic books. He's like rocking horse poo. You cannot find him for love nor money. He sells out everywhere. They do a new version of him. I think there are some bootlegs knocking about, but I'm not going to get one of those. But I am tempted with the Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends set that is currently on Hasbro Pulse, which is an exclusive to them. And that does feature like a very comic book cartoon style version of Spider-Man. So, yeah, oh look, there he goes, falls down. Now, the Goblin's going to fit in here. His feet will go in here, should do. And then there. And then you're going to have him crouch down. I don't think he's going to fit in at all. The thing is, are you going to be able to keep this guy stood up like this on the Goblin Glider? Or am I going to have the Goblin Glider at his feet on display? Because I really don't think this guy, those feet are going to stay in there at all. I do have a Green Goblin figure, but it was one that's made by Diamond. So it's like more like a 7-inch, kind of like 8-inch scale. And he's a fantastic figure. I will show a bit of footage of it at the end of this video. But he is not in scale to the Marvel Legends at all, because the Diamond Select Marvel figures, which are kind of like they're action figures, but they're also like more like statues or statue-esque. They are obviously a lot larger. So I don't think, given that he's like that, he's going to be leaning over. I'm going to have to try and move him like that, which is obviously probably why it's got that waist articulation there in the chest. And see if that's just going to make him stand up better. You see, we've got a bit of a Black Adam situation here, because we're kind of like I'm thinking the weight of that, although it's not very heavy, it's kind of like is making him a little bit probably top heavy, and I don't think he's going to be able to, yeah, you're not going to be able to do much with him, unfortunately. That is a bit of a shame, that. So I'm probably going to just have him standing on display next to Spidey, and he's going to be probably with the Goblin Glider at his feet. It's probably the best way to do it. We can have that over there. No, that doesn't fit. How does that fit over there? Does that fit? Wow. How's he gonna have that on? Okay. Let me try and figure this out. And let's do a lot of this off camera, and then I'll share with you how I got this done, because that is supposed to go across his waist like that, and I've got no idea how on earth that's going to happen with this cloak and this hood and that head. Interesting. Aha, I have done it. It helps that obviously the cloak and the hood are very soft, malleable plastic, so I've managed to get the cloak off, and then obviously I can get the satchel then on, as you can see, and then obviously we can force that back on, and then we can stick the hood back on, and there you go. Haha, he now looks like a proper hobgoblin. Absolutely brilliant. That hand looks fantastic for putting that in. Hopefully he will hold the pumpkin bomb. Or is it going to be one of those Indiana Jones style situations where... No, that's good. Oh, that's going to be a bit of a... Yeah, no. Bit of blue tack, I think, might have to go in there just to make sure that he holds that correctly and that we've got that pumpkin bomb in there. It's just a shame he doesn't fit on the glider. So let's get him standed and posed properly before we wrap up the video. Well, after a lot of perseverance, we have finally managed to get him to not only hold the pumpkin bomb, but also stand on his goblin glider. So there we finally have it. There is the Hobgoblin figure from Marvel Legends Spider-Man Animated Wave. I really like the look of this guy. Absolutely fantastic. Very faithful to how he appeared in the comics. Also faithful to how he looked in the cartoon series. If you can get him for lower than the $23.99 that he goes for, I would absolutely say pick him up and add him to your Marvel Legends collection. And even at $23.99, a couple of times I was seriously tempted at getting him for that price. So he's heartily recommended. He does go very well with my comic book, more accurate Spider-Man rather than the Spider-Man No Way Home figures that I've recently got. Obviously, if you link the playlist link in the bottom description, that will take you to those videos as well. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave us a like, and also don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified whenever we upload any brand new videos. In the meantime, keep watching Bearded Geek Toy Reviews, stay safe, and we will see you extremely soon. See you now. Bye.
Dig a hole, Fisk, wide enough for your final resting place. Huh?
Together, however, they make a clear and unambiguous statement about the values we as citizens should support. Furthermore...
Sorry, Charlie,
Spider-Man!
but you're a little late for Halloween.
Name's Hobgoblin, and you're right on time for your funeral.